Teacher talking sports, what it does, what it do, how we live in. Last year, during the off seasons of the major sports, NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB, I did each team's Mount Rushmore, in my opinion, their four best players in franchise history. Really enjoyed doing it. Now that the MLB is once again in their off season, I figured I would do MLB Mount Rushmores by position. So MLB, of course, has been around well over a century. These won't be easy, but in these, I'm going to attempt to name the four best players at each position, starting with catcher. So in these, I will name the players in alphabetical order by last name. They are not ranked. I will name a bunch of honorable mentions at the end. In order to be eligible, the player must have played at least 50% of their starts must have been at the position I am doing. So while Joe Mauer and Joe Torre would not have made my Mount Rushmore, they would have made my honorable mentions, except they played less than half their games at catcher. So let's get into it. My catcher's Mount Rushmore, starting with Johnny Bench. Johnny Bench played his entire career for the Cincinnati Reds from 1967 until 1983. In his 17 seasons, he batted .267 with an .817 OPS, 126 OPS plus, 389 homers, 1,376 RBIs, 1,091 runs scored, 2,048 hits. Bench was a part of the Big Red Machine, winning 2 World Series with the team. He was named the NL Rookie of the Year in 1968 and the NL MVP in 1970 and 1972. He also had 2 MVP finishes of 4th and 1 at 10th. For 10 straight seasons spanning from 1968 to 1977, Johnny Bench was a Gold Glove winner, was just one of the game's all-time best behind the plate. Altogether, he threw out 43% of would-be base stealers, had a few seasons in which he threw out more than half of them. Again, won the World Series twice, was the World Series MVP in 1976. That World Series, he batted .533 with 2 home runs. In his in his MVP seasons, he led the NL in both homers and RBIs both seasons. In 1974, he also led the NL in RBIs. Those 3 were 3 of 6 seasons in which he drove in more than 100 runs, 2 seasons of at least 40 homers, another 2 with at least 30. Johnny Bench, one of the elite catchers in MLB history, and pretty much an obvious choice for this Mount Rushmore. Next, you may know him for his Yogiisms. That is Yogi Berra, inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1972, played for the Yankees from 1946 to 1963, and then 4 games for the Mets in 1965. Amazingly, Berra was a member of 10 World Series winning teams while with the Yankees. Truly dominant franchise during that time. Berra was named an All-Star every season from 1948 to 1962. He was named the AL MVP in 1951, 1954, and 1955. Also finished runner-up twice, third once, and fourth once in 19 seasons, 2,120 games, 285 batting average, 830 OPS, 125 OPS plus, 358 homers, 1,430 RBIs, 1,175 runs scored. Was a pretty good defensive catcher. If Gold Gloves were around, he probably would have won a few. A great hitter, though. Had 5 seasons with at least 100 RBIs. Had 10 straight seasons from 1949 to 1958 with at least 20 homers, and just missed it the following season with 19. He batted over 300 3 times in his career. Again, a 10-time World Series winner. Altogether had 12 homers in 259 postseason at-bats. Yogi Berra, an all-time legend, and the second member of the catcher's Mount Rushmore. The next 2 are more recent players, starting with Mike Piazza. Famously wasn't drafted until the 62nd round of the 1988 MLB draft. reportedly was a favor for then coach Tommy Lasorda, but Piazza was fabulous. Hall of Famer, inducted in 2016, 12-time All-Star, has the all-time record for homers by a catcher, 427, with 396 of them coming while he was behind the plate. Altogether, in his 16 seasons, 1,912 games, batted .308, 922 OPS, 143 OPS plus, 427 homers, 1,335 RBIs, 1,048 runs scored, 2,127 hits. Piazza was the NL Rookie of the Year in 1993. While he never won MVP, he came close numerous times, finishing as the NL MVP runner-up twice. Third once, fourth once, sixth once, seventh once, and ninth once. Was a 10-time NL Silver Slugger winner. Again, one of the game's best hitting catchers. Actually batted at least 300 for 9 straight seasons from 1993 until 2001. Had 2 seasons of 40 homers and had an additional 7 seasons with over 30. May not be as good a defensive catcher as the other 3 guys on here, but Piazza was such an offensive threat throughout his career. Again, probably maybe the best offensive catcher of all time. Piazza is the 3rd catcher on this Mount Rushmore. And last, a guy simply known as Pudge, that being Ivan Rodriguez, inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2017. Rodriguez played 20 parts of 21 seasons, spanning from 1991 to 2011, spending the bulk, at least the beginning of his career, with the Rangers, and then spent time with a few other teams. In 2,543 career games, Rodriguez batted .296, 798 OPS, 106 OPS plus, 311 homers, 1,332 RBIs, 1,354 runs, 2,844 hits, even 572 doubles, and 127 stolen bases. His 13 Gold Gloves are the most by any catcher in MLB history. He also won 6 straight Silver Sluggers from 1994 to 1999, also winning one in 2004. Rodriguez was named the AL MVP in 1999, a season in which he batted .332, 35 homers, 113 RBIs, and 116 runs scored. Had 8 straight seasons from 1995 to 2002 in which he batted over 300. Again, just an all-time defensive backstop. Absolutely incredible behind the plate. Threw out 46% of would-be base stealers in his career, leading his league in caught stealing percentage 9 times in his career. Won the World Series in 2003 in his lone season with the Marlins. He was the NLCS MVP during that postseason and had 3 homers and 17 RBIs in that year's postseason. Ivan Rodriguez, the 4th member of the catchers Mount Rushmore. So again, in alphabetical order by last name, we have Johnny Bench, Yogi Berra, Ivan Rodriguez, Mike Piazza. As I mentioned, I'll name some honorable mentions. Those include, in no order, Carlton Fisk, Gary Carter, Gabby Hartnett, Mickey Cochran, Roy Campanella, Bill Dickey, Buster Posey, Yadier Molina, Thurman Munson, and Ted Simmons, to name a few. So there you have it. And I also forgot to mention, I'm only going to strictly look at MLB for these. A guy like Josh Gibson, who is probably the biggest star in Negro League history, it's all hypothetical. Would he have probably succeeded in MLB? I'm sure he would have. But for these, I'm just going to look at MLB. And I also, later on, we'll see, I may include guys that have been linked to PEDs. I'm only going to strictly look at how the players did on the field. So there is the MLB catchers Mount Rushmore. Stay tuned. Probably tomorrow I will take a look at the Mount Rushmore of first basemen in Major League Baseball history. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.